We're going to have Wayne up again. If you like that piece, he's got it on CD in the other room after the service.
In this very room, there's quite enough love for all of us. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all of us. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away any gloom. For spirit, one spirit, is in this very room. In this very room. In this very room. So we'd like to invite you to stand for our opening song, In the Light, in the Love, and the Glory. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God love and the glory I am. And so are we all. Yay!
Woohoo! Thank you. Anton Miserak and Laura Berryhill, and our guest musician, Wayne Powell. What a treat, huh? Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Oh, it's so good to see your faces. Good morning. I'm Kimberly Hawkins. I am the co-spiritual director here. My co-minister, Reverend Michelle, is in Phoenix, Arizona. I think she's seeing an Elton John concert, so we bless her and wish her well. We are an inclusive, progressive, spiritual family. And we're dedicated to teaching tools to transform personal lives and also to help make a world that works for everybody. We welcome you all, no matter where you may be on your own personal spiritual path. And I'm curious, I know there are a few people here for the very first time. If you would be willing to raise your hand, we're not going to follow you home, but we'd like to give you a little love. So if you're here for the first time, welcome. We're so glad you found us, and just want you to know that we have a social time in Bosworth Hall after service, and we'd love to just talk to you and get to know you a little better if you feel comfortable doing that. And there's Michael usually serves 2 soups, and we usually have desserts by Eddie. We have guys in the kitchen here. Isn't that wonderful? Greg and Michael and Eddie, yeah, and I think Ellen might be part of that too, but she's the only female, token female. Kathy what? Kathy Denzer is the other one. Thank you. And Ginny. Oh, okay. The women are, but it was the men that started the after service, and just so grateful for that. So let's see, where am I? Please, if you haven't already, remember to turn your cell phones off completely or on airplane mode for many reasons. And I think, let's see, Nancy Clay is our practitioner this morning. She will be doing our invocation and reading. Shannon Schnibbe, where are you, Shannon? Shannon did a beautiful meditation. Thank you so much this morning. All right, I think I'm not forgetting anything. So it's time now to take our collective deep breath, turn this over to our musicians to prepare us for our invocation and our reading.
Are clad in purple, and the trees are clad in gold. The autumn winds are sighing of a beauty growing old. The gray grouse in the heather and the wild deer in the glen. I'm dreaming of the springtime when I see the sun again. That merry laughing summer with her mantle cloak of green. That merry laughing summer with her mantle cloak of green. But it was autumn, gentle autumn, with her bonny eyes of gray, and wrapped me in her twilight, and she stole my heart away.
In the love, in the light, in the glory. That's what I see looking out at this group of people. So grateful that we've been brought together on this Sunday morning. Brought together by the one Spirit, the one life, the one intelligence, the one beauty, the one harmony, the all good. As I identify these traits of the Spirit, I'm identifying myself and each of us as individual incarnations of spirit, spiritual beings living a spiritual life. And when we come together in groups like this, we create energy so big and so gracious and so loving that I believe we're affecting life on the planet positively. And for this privilege, for each of us, I am so, so grateful. And we say together, and so it is. I'm going to light the peace candle. I didn't forget this time. So we have a brief reading for the peace candle, which has 3 wicks. And so I say, I light the peace candle to represent the light within each of us, the light of divine oneness, the Christ consciousness that resides in us all. Knowing as I light this flame of peace, we allow ourselves to feel God's peace and love deeply in our hearts, so that we might send that peace and love out into the world. As we move into a brief moment of silence for all those in pain, for the victims of senseless violence, for all those suffering right now, we send this light from our hearts to theirs. I have a brief reading this morning to honor and to remember and to bring into our presence veterans, people who have served in the military for our country and for each of us. I know some of us are those people. And I just bless and honor each and every one. Dear veterans, those of us who have not served will never fully understand the sacrifices you've made, both in times of peace and of war. We will never fully understand what you were required to do or how you were able to do it. We will never fully understand the depth of your scars. We see you. We recognize your humanity. And we send you love that is gentle, patient, and healing. We ask blessings and gratitude. We ask that you remember you are loved. Thank you.
We'd like to invite our good friend Wayne Powell up to do another piece.
The song is called Messenger's Prayer, and it's written for all those wayshowers, which we are. Sustain me to speak your words. Teach me to heal. Anoint me to sing your praise. Filling me with light. Hold me in your loving arms, one with the sun. Take away our thoughts of separateness, showing me all as one. I am filled with courage to share our love. My life is yours. Open my heart and show me the way through the truth and the light. Truth and the light. I am filled with courage to share our love. My life is yours. Open my heart and show me the way through the truth and the light. Truth and light. So quiet me to hear your voice. I feel angels all around, lifting me above all my fears, sustaining me with your love. I am filled with courage to share our love. Our lives are one. My heart is opening the way through the truth and the light. Truth and the light. You walk with me everywhere I go. You carry me right through the emptiness, filling me with your gentle grace, showing me how to love. You walk with me everywhere I go, teaching me, showing me, revealing me to be loved.
Oh, that was lovely. Wayne Powell, Laura Berryhill, and Anton Miserak. Wow. My life is yours. What a beautiful, simple prayer to God if we just remembered that every day, huh? Ooh. Our theme for the rest of this month and into December is inner sanctuary. I'm going to say those words again, and just notice what it brings up in you to hear that. Inner sanctuary. It was Rev Michelle who came up with those two words. And then right away I knew I was drawn to that idea. There was something about that got me. But in my desire to be a wordsmith, which I'm always doing, I suggested we added a verb in there, and we call it finding inner sanctuary. And Rev Michelle, in her kind wisdom, challenged me on that and said, you know, when you say that, it kind of brings up for me that it's out there somewhere and that I may not be able to find it. I may not be able to reach it. And I get chills even when I say that. And I said, you're right. It's here. It's within each of us always. God within, peace within. And we're not always aware of it, but we don't really need to find it. We just need to connect with it, right? Now, I gotta confess that we advertised the talk title this morning as True Belonging. Nope. I will be doing that talk. It's already written, but when I wrote the talk, it was way too long. It's really 2 talks. And what I realized was I really wanted to focus on this idea of inner sanctuary today. I also want to give you a little warning, especially for those of you who are here for the very first time. We're so grateful to have you a part of us. And it's going to be a little different today. I, for whatever reason, was led to do a briefer talk and a longer meditation as part of the talk. I mean, if we're talking about inner sanctuary, how are we going to connect with it if we're just talking? So I hope you'll bear with me through all of that. So I think that in this outer world we're looking at right now, there's so much chaos swirling. I think we could all agree on that. We see political division, we see war, disease, climate change, storms of all kinds, and that we really need more than ever to connect with, to deepen our connection with that feeling of peace and safety, which is always available right within us. The word sanctuary really has 2 meanings, right? It can mean a place of safety and protection and shelter, as in a wildlife sanctuary or a bird sanctuary. But of course, it can also mean a sacred place, a holy place, a temple, this room, if you will. When I first walked into this room, a little over a year ago, as we started to explore, Center for Spiritual Living started to explore a possible partnership with Unity of Medford, who owns the building, I sensed something as soon as I walked in. And I think what I was feeling was the walls being saturated with prayer, because this sanctuary had been in operation as Unity of Medford for 65 years. They just celebrated their 65th anniversary. And before that, it was moved here from another location. And Eddie can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he told me in 1927, the building was moved here, and it was the home for another Christian denomination. So can you imagine the prayers that have been asked for, said, and felt in this holy place, this sanctuary? I wanted to share with you, too, a mystical experience I had, a vision I had in a time of deep meditation or journeying, if you will. I saw stained glass, and by the way, this is one of the things people love about this room, Jean Hanna, Unity president, board president, the stained glass. But in this vision, I saw stained glass all around me. I mean, above me, around me. And the feeling I had was one of a very sacred feeling of being in a sanctuary. And then the knowing came that I wasn't just in a sanctuary, I was the sanctuary. I was and am, and we each are that place where the Holy of Holies resides, always. God within and around, always. The other thing that I, for some reason, had come up this week was my connection to the Jewish faith. I think Nancy was raised in the Jewish faith. I was not. But there's a beautiful, beautiful analogy that I learned in ministerial school when we were studying the Kabbalah, which is the mystical writing of Judaism. And I think the mystical arm of almost any religion teaches the same thing. God is all there is, and it's within each of us as well. We are one. So in the Kabbalah, the word for the infinite is Ein Sof. It means infinite, endless one. And in the Kabbalistic teachings, in the beginning, Ein Sof, God, if you will, whatever you want to call that one life spirit, created 10 Sephiro. Sephiro are attributes of the one God. So they're not apart from it. They're things like wisdom, discipline, kindness. And the analogy in the book we were reading about the Kabbalah said this. Imagine 10 different glass containers colored differently. Maybe one was white, one was green, one was red, one was blue, whatever. And as water is poured into those vessels, each vessel appears different. You know, the blue vessel and so on. But they're not different. The inner being and life of the water being poured in is one and the same. So is it with Ein Sof, creating 10 different attributes. And to me, what I realized was, so is it for the Creator, creating each one of us, different bodies, different hairstyles, different personalities, all of it. But the life inside that holy of holiest places within us is the same. The other analogy the book the book gave is this. Imagine stained glass windows with 10 different colors in them. As the light comes through, we see different colors, we see differences, but the light, the one light, is the same. It's the same. And the same is true for us. That one light that animates all of us is God, is Ein Sof, is Spirit, is Creator, Source, whatever it is you want to call it. We are the temple. We are that vessel that contains the light or the water, if you will, of Spirit. But here's the thing. We're not always in touch with that. I mean, is there anybody in here that's in touch with it all the time? I think you should be up here. I'm not. And so the other story that came to mind, interestingly enough, is the Hanukkah story. It's not Hanukkah yet. That doesn't happen till December. But hear me, if you will. This inner sanctuary for each of us gets defiled. It gets muddied. The feeling and the knowing and the connection with our divine source gets cloudy, right? A lot of it because we're hurt. We have messages when we're young that we're less than. We make judgments about ourselves and we feel bad about ourselves. We carry guilt and regret and all of that. So what I realized this week is I thought about, and I'll tell you a little about the Hanukkah story in case you don't know it well. This is in the 2nd century BC. There had been an emperor in that area, in the Greek area, called Alexander the Great, who he was tolerant of the Jews. He allowed them to practice their religion. But when he died, Antiochus took over as emperor, and Antiochus was an anti-Semite. So he did all kinds of horrible things. He executed Jews who wouldn't eat pork, for example. He didn't allow them to practice their religion. And the worst thing, perhaps of all, was that his armies took over the temple in Jerusalem and they desecrated it. They slaughtered a pig on the altar and spread the blood of the pig in the Holy of Holies, that most sacred inner sanctum of the Jewish temple, where only the presence of God was thought to reside. They took the blood and they scattered it on the Torah. They put up statues of Greek gods. They took the oil that was used to light the candles and they desecrated, defiled it. So the Maccabees were a small group of revolutionaries who overthrew the Persian army and seized the temple once again. And you can imagine the joy of the Jewish people when they were able to enter the temple. However, when they entered it and saw what had been done, the first thing they did was they wept. They wept. And then they got about the business of cleaning it and consecrating it and rededicating it. And the Hanukkah story comes in, which isn't so central to what I want to say today, but the Hanukkah story comes in because, remember, there was only enough oil to last one day when they lit the candle. And miraculously, even though it took them 8 days to finish the cleaning and have the rededication, that one vial of oil, the rest had been defiled, lasted 8 days. And I always think that was a testament to the faith of the Jewish people. They lit the candle, even though they knew it wasn't supposed to last for 8 days, and it did. But here's the thing, the joy then of having that temple rededicated. And I feel like that's what we need to do continually with our inner sanctuary. We need to do a little cleaning up. We need to do a little remembering of who we truly are. We need to do some releasing of the things that have come in, that have knocked us off our center, that have separated us from that feeling of being one with our Creator, of being, as Nancy so beautifully said in her prayer, a unique incarnation of the One. I think this purification process is probably something that we need to do on an ongoing basis so that we can remember that we are the sunlight, we are the water, even though our vessels look different. So we carry around guilt, a lot of us. I had my Course in Miracles teacher this week talk about guilt being the linchpin that hooks us to our past. And he made the analogy that we all are kind of carrying around a trailer behind us in our life of, guilt, remorse, regrets, I'm not enough, all of that stuff. And so if we can release the guilt, we can kind of let that trailer go. Because unfortunately, many of us live out of our past. We live out of trying to protect ourselves because we've been hurt, or we try to not recreate the past. We have the expression, of course, that hurting people hurt others. And certainly when you look even at our political figures who have been cutting and biting and accusing, it's awful what's going on. But if we understand that people do that because they're hurting inside, they're carrying around their own guilt, their own trailer, and they're acting out of that. So it's so important to release that stuff. Hurting people hurt people. It's our ego, isn't it, that's trying to protect. The other thing I want to say before we do a little healing process is that there's a difference, too, between guilt, when we feel bad about things we've done, and shame, which can also take up residence in this inner sanctuary. Because shame means not just feeling like there's something wrong with what I did, but something wrong with who I am, which is very, very hurtful. So I'd like to do a process with you. Before I do, a little caveat again. Some of the quotes I'll be reading are from A Course in Miracles. And if you're familiar with the Course, it does use a lot of masculine language. It calls each of us the Son of God, and I like to replace that with we're all children of God, but I won't remember to do it in each one. So just a caveat. You can translate for me in your own heads. Anton and Laura are going to play underneath. And I'm going to invite you now, if you're comfortable. We often say go within, don't we? It's time to go within. And isn't that interesting? Meaning connect here with that inner sanctuary. So let's, if you're comfortable, close your eyes and let's take a couple collective deep breaths together. And I'm going to invite you now to contemplate what are the things you are holding against yourself. What are the things you're holding against yourself? Things in that trailer you're carting behind you. Perhaps these are things you have done that you regret, or things you didn't do that you're sorry for. What are the harsh judgments you've made about yourself? Your perceived flaws, shortcomings, wrongdoings? Perhaps they're things that were pointed out to you in a not so kind way by others as you moved through life. Perhaps they're things you assumed about yourself. For what things have you not forgiven yourself? Have you not let yourself off the hook? And as each of us offer these things up to the light of the divine truth, I invite you to take in some quotes from A Course in Miracles. Guilt is a sure sign that your thinking is unnatural. The truth about you is so lofty that nothing unworthy of God is worthy of you. Nothing unworthy of God is worthy of you. You are the work of God, and His work is wholly lovable and wholly loving. This is how one must think of oneself in the heart, because this is what each of us is: wholly lovable, wholly loving. And now I'd like you to take one or more of those judgments that you've made about yourself. Many of us simply judge that we're not worthy or we're not enough. Perhaps there's a feeling that I'm selfish or thoughtless, disorganized, stupid. The list goes on, but I invite you to choose one or more of those judgments, those adjectives that do not describe the truth of who you are in your inner sanctuary, but describe the ego's misinterpretation of who you really are. And I invite you to say this phrase silently to yourself: I forgive myself for judging myself as, you fill in the blank. I forgive myself for judging myself as unworthy, unlovable, whatever it is. And as we offer those judgments up to the light of the holy truth, I invite you to take these words in once again from A Course in Miracles. God Himself is incomplete without me. God does not change His mind about you, for He is not uncertain of Himself. When anything threatens your peace of mind, ask yourself, has God changed his mind about me? To accept your littleness is arrogant because it means that you believe your evaluation of yourself is truer than God's. In this world, you can become a spotless mirror in which the holiness of your Creator shines forth from you to all around you. You can reflect heaven here. Nothing you can do can change eternal love. It is hard to understand what the kingdom of heaven is within you really means. The word within is unnecessary. The kingdom of heaven is you. And I'd like you to breathe this one in deeply, right into that inner sanctuary, right into your very soul. There is a place in you where there is perfect peace. There is a place in you where nothing is impossible. There is a place in you where the strength of God abides. And finally, a sense of separation from God is the only lack you really need correct. A sense of separation from God is the only lack you really need correct. And so knowing that at any time you can go back to this place of connecting with divine presence, of bringing to the light the shadow side of what you've come to believe is not true about you, come to believe it's true. Let's begin now to bring our attention back into this holy sanctuary, this present moment. And I invite you to quietly look around the room and notice the other beams of light. The other innocent, pure, perfect expressions of that holy light. For you know, as we are able to forgive our sins, our mistakes, as we are able to know that we are godlings in creation, made of the stuff of our Creator, we are more easily able to recognize that in each face and each person we encounter. So this week, I'm offering up a couple practices for each of us. It's a wonderful journal exercise to go within again and recognize what you've judged yourself for. And I know when I did this week, I started to cry. And I thought about the Jews who entered that temple and wept at the desecration of the temple. I was weeping for what I do to myself. So to get in touch with that and then to journal the phrases, any of those judgments you've made against yourself, unworthy, etc. I forgive myself for judging myself as. You write that out in your journal. Now, the reason we don't say I forgive myself for being selfish or being unworthy or being thoughtless because it's not the truth of who we are. We may have taken actions that we could label as that, but we can't label our true selves with a capital S as any of those things. Remember, anything that's unworthy of God is not worthy of you. And the other practice is simply to renew our commitment to being still, as Wayne's song sang, to get quiet, because we don't hear that voice of pure truth, that voice of the divine that's always here, it's always ready to speak to us. We're not always ready to listen. We don't have the ears necessarily to listen. I'd like to read a couple more quotes. One is from the Hindu Upanishads, and I love this. The unseen one, unthinkable, undefinable by name, whose substance is the certitude of one self, capital S, in whom the world existence is stilled. The outer world is stilled, who is all peace and bliss. That is the self with a capital S. That is what must be known for each of us. And I'm going to share with you another couple things, and I'll put these in the newsletter so that you don't have to remember them. This is an affirmation that I got from a Unity minister named Flo Dibley in Phoenix, Arizona, who was my mentor for quite a few years. And I just love this one. I am centered and poised in the Christ mind. Nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. I am centered and poised in the Christ mind. Nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. And for those of you who may not know, when we say Christ mind, what we mean is the mind that Jesus had, which is that he knew I and the Father are one. He knew he was never separate. He knew God always walked with him, beside him, and as him. That's for us to know as well. And finally, regarding our recommitment to being still, this from Amit Ray. Meditation is realizing and expanding your inner beauty in every direction. Meditation, realizing and expanding your inner beauty in every direction. Let's go into prayer. So as we breathe once again, consciously, letting that breath of life, that breath of God, that breath of spirit cleanse and re-energize every cell in our bodies. I choose to remember there is only one power in all the universe. Nothing can oppose it. It is nameless, it is changeless, and yet it keeps creating out of itself everything we see. It is always responsive. It knows the desires of our heart before we even verbalize them, before perhaps we're even aware of them. Omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. There is no place, even when we see outer turmoil, even when we see storms and division and acrimony, God is there. Peace underlies that, because within each of us is that inner sanctuary. And when we become aware of that, when we live from that place of peace and knowing our oneness, that light does spread. We make a huge ripple across the globe. We can't be separate from the peace, the wisdom, the love that God is. It is impossible. We can feel that way, but it is impossible. And so my prayer for each one of us is that this week we renew our purification of that temple that's right within us, just as the Jews did. We rededicate our lives, our being, our actions to the truth that we are love in action, to the truth that we are always guided. I am that thou art. My will is the will of the divine. We're not separate. So my prayer is that each of us tune in and listen to guidance. And from that place, we take action, never out of reaction, never out of anger, but always out of that pure embodiment of our inner sanctuary. And I know that if we need help, if we need to talk to a loved one, a minister, a practitioner, a counselor, that may be a perfect opportunity for us to pursue this week. Looking at our shadow, bringing it into the light, allows us to experience peace. So my prayer is that the world begins in a new way to awaken as we shine our light out. It's catching. Other people see it. Other people are uplifted. So in gratitude for everyone here, and gratitude for our beautiful teachings, and gratitude for the threads, the golden threads of wisdom that run through all the major faith traditions, that God is all there is, and we are part of it. I release this word into the heart, the law, the essence of the divine, where there is always only one answer. Yes, my beloveds, it is done. It is done. And we say together, and so it is. Amen. Thank you.
Could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. Turn to someone and sing to them. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? Try the other direction. There's probably another God being that would like your acknowledgement. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Maybe a little more weeping going on. I want to share with you that I requested that song, and thank you, Anton and Laura, for so beautifully doing it, because it's one of my favorites. I first heard it when I was attending our CSL convention at Asilomar, California. My daughter Krista was 13 at the time in the teen group, and they invited us in at the beginning of the teen group, and we were holding hands in a circle, and David Alt, who was a musician at the time, not a minister, who is now, by the way, a gay minister, and I, coming from a family with 2 gay siblings, and how could anyone ever tell you that your loving is a miracle? I mean, I was sobbing. I was sobbing, and so I've always had a tender place in my heart for that song. Thank you all. It is time now. Our ushers are going to come on forward for our offering. Just a reminder that we are collecting from our members and regular contributors pledge cards, so if you haven't turned yours in, we'd be glad to have it in the basket at the back. And if you want to just email Vivian, cslroguevalley@gmail.com, you can just email Vivian your pledge, what you plan to give each week, year, or month, and of course that can always be changed at any time. But this is a time when we accept tithes and offerings, and I invite you, and those of you online, a big welcome to you. I've not said that yet, but we're so glad to have you join us, and you too can give on our website if you'd like to, cslroguevalley.org. I invite you now to say our affirmation with me, if you would. Graciously I give. From a place of love, knowing that as I give, so do I richly receive. And so it is. And one more little tip, if you're giving cash, if you want it to go to either Unity or CSL, you can pick the designated envelope in the pew.
Within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know. I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place, I will make a quiet place.
Another of my favorite songs, thank you. Okay, a few announcements. I don't always do this, but let's give a little love to our video crew, Jason Rummel, Bill Miner, Tom Frederick, and Shannon Schnibbel. They do such a beautiful job, and should you ever miss coming in person, you can watch on YouTube or online on our channel, on YouTube or our Facebook page, and we're so grateful to you guys for doing such a professional job. Thank you so much. If you heard noise while we were doing the meditation, it's really a cool reason. Our teens are meeting back there, and we welcome them. We have a number of them planning to go to camp this winter, and we're just so excited about that. And just know that we have Carrie Layden here every week. There she is, raising her hand in the back. Carrie is here to be with our younger kids. And we haven't had a lot of them come lately, but if you have neighbors or grandchildren or people you know who would benefit by a beautiful, loving, accepting, open spirituality, please bring them. Carrie is wonderful, and we welcome young people. We want to have every age, every color, you name it, all right? So on to announcements. Let's see, Jackie's Jewelry, it's the second Sunday of the month, so gently used pieces of jewelry Sue Van Hoos has at a table in there, and I believe most of the pieces are just take it for a love offering, and money just goes to the center. That's really fun. Time to do some holiday shopping, right? Let's see, the men's group will be meeting Monday at 1 p.m. right here. I'm so grateful that that group is meeting. Reverend Michelle's class, Mental Equivalence, started this past Wednesday, but you can still join this week. It's just a 5-week class. It's a very powerful class about getting clear about what it is you want in life and how to go through the process of prayer and knowing that it is yours if you want it. Very powerful. Laura Stewart is here. Gosh, Laura. Oh my gosh, tell us what happened last week with our Maslow Project Christmas Angels.
Oh my goodness. All I can say is thank you. We are sponsoring children through the Maslow Project of all ages. Our 5 children range from 1 to 17, and we received their holiday gift list. And quite honestly, we thought that it would take a while to be able to account for all the gifts, and for the love of all that's good in the world, we only have a couple of gifts that have not been signed up for yet.
Can we give everybody a round of thank you? Woo! And you too, Laura, for spearheading this.
With that being said, we may have the opportunity to get more children, to get more wish lists. So there is a list that I've set up in Fellowship Hall, where if you weren't here last week, or you feel called to give more than you already have, and you would like to help sponsor a child or a gift, you can fill the sheet out, give me put your name, phone number, and I should know by Wednesday how many more children we're going to be able to sponsor. And then there are other options on sponsoring as well. But thank you. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Just like to remind you too that we tithe 10%. We practice what we preach. So we tithe 10% of what comes in on Sundays to various groups who support our mission. So I can't remember, let's see, who are we doing this quarter, Viv? Is it Aura or is it Aura? It used to be called Options for Homeless Residents in Ashland. Now it's just Options for Helping Residents in Ashland. We have tied to Maslow Project. We have tied to Foster Parents Associations. I'm sorry I didn't come prepared with the whole list, but we do this every single month, no matter what our income is, whether we're meeting our expenses or not. 10% of what comes in goes out to help those who are supporting our mission. One more thing in that sanctuary, in the Bosworth Hall, rather, in addition to Jackie's Jewelry and the Angel Project, there are also CDs from Wayne and from Anton and Laura. Yeah, Laura. So please, holiday shopping, right? So I think that's it. I'm going to invite any practitioners or ministers in the room to come forward. They are available for prayer after service. And if you want to come and connect with a practitioner, they can always take you up front into the office area where it's a little quieter. I encourage everybody to move into the social hall so that we can make this kind of a quiet space for prayer. But I know you all. You're pretty social, and I know that's hard. So practitioners, come on up. And before our closing song, I'd like to read you a benediction again from A Course in Miracles. By the way, Kim, have I officially, okay. Kim Bebo is our newest practitioner, with a couple more on the way, coming to us from Grants Pass. So I leave you with these words before our closing song, my friends. The still infinity of endless peace surround you gently in its soft embrace, so strong and quiet, tranquil in the might of its creator. Nothing can intrude upon the sacred child of God within.
And if you'd like to stand.
love you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. I love you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. I love you, I bless you, thank you for being in the world. I love you, I bless you, thank you for being in the world. I love you, I bless you, thank you for being in the world. I love you, I bless you, thank you for being in the world. I love you, I bless you, thank you for being in the world. I love you, I bless you, thank you for being in the world.